I'm here with Brittany Quiroz, better known as a hot MS advocate, speaker, writer, and mom. Today, we're going to discuss parenting and MS, and we're going to get into all that right now. But you have kids, like you have two kids. How old are these kids?
So they're 11 and 12 right now. So I was diagnosed when they were 7 and 8.
Ooh, so there's a lot going on there, mom, but
Yeah.
between raising young kids, between understanding that your body is falling apart bit by bit and you have no idea why.
So much fun.
So did it get to a point where you were like, I don't know what's going on. I'm going to try to sort of keep it from them, even when.
No, not even for a second. So
Wow.
I was diagnosed at about 11:30 in the afternoon via a phone call, by the way, which was like horrific. I was at work at the time and I got the call and I'm like, well, you could have had me come down to the office and told me. But anyway, I got back after rushing to their infusion center to start the 3-day. Did I just do 3-day? I think I did. That was my brain communicating.
That's
wrong.
fine. It reads.
3-day solumedrol infusion. So by the time we got home, I was sitting down in the living room with my husband Johnny, and I was talking to him, saying, "Okay, well, who else are we going to tell, and when are we going to do it?" So we let my parents know, and it was a lot of information to hand out at once. But the kids, my stepkids, had already been seeing these weird symptoms and seeing me fall down or walk into walls, because walls in our house move.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. They come out of nowhere.
Totes.
And so they had already been kind of aware that something was going on with me, but they weren't quite sure what. I mean, they were 7 and 8 at the time. So, the night that I was diagnosed, Johnny and I sat down and I said, look, I want to be as transparent as possible with the kids. And he's like, okay, what do you mean? And I go, well, we're obviously going to need to tell them. I don't want them to see my body doing strange things, or my fatigue is just through the roof and things are just not quite how they were. And then they don't know what's happening, and it instills like fear and panic and worry. So I'm like, if we approach it, and me, like I approach everything with comedic back vibes, because that's my defense mechanism, and that's the best way that I can cope without losing my mind completely.
Sure.
So we sat them down and we said, okay, mom's got some news. And, Johnny kind of segued into the conversation. And my stepdaughter was kind of present and kind of checking in and out. I mean, she was 7, so it's like we had to keep the conversation pretty short. But my stepson, who was 8, he was asking all sorts of questions. We explained what multiple sclerosis was, and that mom is going through this right now. And so I kind of broke it down in terms of thinking like your body is your neurological system is like your body's computer. And then it was kind of like this little light bulb went on over their heads, and they're like, oh, okay, I understand.
Yeah.
And my stepson was asking all these really deep intellectual questions, and my stepdaughter goes, so are you dying? And I go, no, babe, I'm not dying. And she goes, oh, good. Can I have a Pop-Tart?
Yes.
So it's like, you never know what kind of reaction that you're going to get, but I cannot tell you the value and the importance of being transparent. I hear opposite ends of the spectrum in this with people that reach out to me privately of saying, well, I've been lying to my kid, or I haven't been honest with my kid, and they have no idea. But they're still seeing everything. They're seeing you, slur your speech, or walk strange, or fall down, or take naps 10 times a day. They're seeing all this and they don't know why. You know what I mean?
It's like, mommy, are you drinking?
Yes.
Like, well, mommy doesn't have a substance abuse problem. Mommy has a neurological condition.
Exactly.
What's a neurological condition? Well, let me sit down and tell you.
Exactly. And they had been seeing me, go to a lot more doctor's appointments. I had been, for the majority of my life, relatively healthy up until age 30 when I was diagnosed with MS. So all of a sudden they're like, why is mom going to the doctor all of a sudden? Why does she have to pick us up from school and take her with us because she can't pick us up after from the after school program? So they were coming with me and they were seeing, what was going on, and they were a part of everything. So Johnny and I were really wanting to approach this from a place of presenting them with the reality of what was happening, not just to educate them, but to instill a sense of we're all in this together and we're a team. We're all going to operate in the same sort of platform to get through this as a family. It wasn't just me. It was the Quiroz team.
That's the thing. Like, as much as they are young people, one doesn't have to treat them like adults, but they have to be frank and direct with them, because the children see everything. The children see that you can't walk. The children see that you're tired more. The children see that you have to go to the doctor. And that's kind of not quite a difference, but some people just say, oh, mommy's tired. Oh, daddy, he forgets all the time because he works so hard for you, baby. And so while that might be true, there's also a full disclosure, a candidness that is part of being able to move forward with this condition and this diagnosis as a family. And if you don't include the children in that, then your whole family's not involved in that, and that can be troublesome.
Yep. And I think the way in which you decide to navigate around that dialogue is important. So John knows me, and he knows that I'm a clown and I like to approach things with humor, and that works great with kids. So I didn't want to present them, with this pretty substantial and heavy news with the background subtext of fear. Did not want to do that.
So were you just like, mommy's brain, mommy's immune system?
Yeah,
her
totally.
brain
I'm like, look, if you see mom falling down or walking into a wall, don't be, because they would respond with such urgency and panic, like, oh my gosh, mom, are you okay? Are you okay? And I'm like, look, slow your roll. I'm good. I'm fine. You just have to say, hey, mom, watch out for that wall.
Yeah.
Bet you didn't see that wall. And they're not doing this in like a rude way, but they're making light of it. They're not, it's not this overwhelming, daunting, like, woe is me. Oh my God, are you okay? It's just totally light. It's fine.
It's a communication thing, and the candidness, the frankness adds to some of the levity of that's necessary to have a strong family dynamic in the midst of this condition, and not carry the, oh, mommy has this condition. I can't even spell multiple sclerosis. Are you okay? Are you tired?
Exactly.
You gotta go to the doctor again. Like, it weighs so much on just a regular person, just an adult. But the young person's 8. Your kid is 7. Its brain is still not properly developed, frankly. And so the more you model clarity, the more you model candidness, the more you model honesty with your children, even when it's not the most fun or the best thing, especially for yourself. The more you model these things, the better family dynamic you'll have. Yeah,
absolutely. And what I have found is, honest to God, they have developed such a sense of awareness for not just MS, but disability in general. My stepson in particular, the amount of empathy that he has gained from this, and understanding, and awareness, and widening that perception of what disability looks like. Because again, we just have blue placard, outline of a wheelchair, and that's all we have to go off of. So it's really allowed him in particular to, approach this in a place of understanding for his peers, and understanding for, peers that may be in his school that have alternative disabilities and stuff like that. So it has been a huge blessing. But when approaching the topic of, hey, your parent has an incurable progressive disease, by being, communicative and transparent, and allow them to ask the questions. They're going to ask a billion questions, and some questions are going to be hysterical. But When they have the ability, or you allow them to ask the questions, they're a part of it. When they're not a part of it, that's when they fear, that's when they worry, that's when they stress out. So by you educating them, you're allowing them to be a part of it. When they're a part of it, they feel like they're more in control because they're educated. When they feel more control, they feel more confident.
That seems to be part of it. Like, I don't have no kids, and that's not gonna happen, baby. But it seems as if part of growing an adult from a child, growing a baby to a kid, is you want to protect it, you want to shelter it, you want to
Right.
make sure that it's all right and it's good. And in that, a lot of the times you don't disclose things that you think might be damaging to the kid. Like
Yep.
Julie Stam, another guest, wrote a children's book about just living with MS. And the
Yep.
more that she understood her condition through the eyes of the child, the more she was like, I need to dial back the stress 17 times, 17 billion
Exactly.
times less.
Oh, Julie, she is so fantastic. I have a call with her next week. I'm so excited to chat with her because, we have very, very similar views on this topic. And, I have had so many parents come to me saying, well, I know what it's done to me, so I don't want to put my kid through that. And it's like, you're approaching it from the wrong sense.
Yeah.
You're approaching it from this like shameful, pitiful, feel sorry for yourself position. And it's like, if that's how you are projecting your chronic illness onto yourself, that's how everybody is going to, project it back onto you,
Wow.
including your kids.
Including your kids, and they're right there all the time, just like your spouse. Your spouse is an adult, so there's a different level of communication. But with the kid, you still have to be candid, frank, clear. It's just that they have a different like house or set of contexts that you get to work with, but you still have to be direct. You still have to be truthful and clear with them. And it sounds as if that's kind of part of it, and it grows more empathetic children. Like, speak about that. Have you sort of noticed your kids have one set of empathy, and then a year later, post them knowing you have MS, they have another set of empathy? How's that going?
Absolutely. My stepson, I sound like I'm bragging over one child than the other, but the two of them are two completely opposite human beings.
That's how that
They're
works.
polar opposites of one another. My stepdaughter is very independent. She's very fiery, very, very spunky,
She's
and
an
very
independent little girl who don't need no man.
exactly. She's very, very stubborn. My stepson, on the other hand, falls into more of the characteristics of personality of my husband. Very soft spoken, very sensitive, very empathetic, very, very creative, very hands on. And I have seen him grow to such a beautiful place. I am not going to cry. I'm not going to get teared up because I'm so proud. But a
But how
couple weeks
so? Like,
ago,
how, in what ways?
he came to me a couple weeks ago and he goes, Mom, there's a creative contest at school, and he's in 7th grade. So I'm like, oh, cool. Tell me about it. And he's like, well, you can kind of pick, what category you want to do, like visual arts or photography or performance or voice. Or so I'm like, okay, well, what are you thinking? And he goes, I want to do photography, but I want it to be about MS. So naturally I'm excited for him for wanting to do something creative anyways, because he's always been an athlete the majority of his life. But the second he said, I want to do it about MS, I'm like, go on.
Totally.
And so he goes, well, I want to talk to you about a couple ideas I have. So I said, okay, well, let's have a business meeting. I go, what time works for you tomorrow? And we scheduled a business meeting and we met at the dining room table. And I'm like, bring me a list, written down in a notebook of your ideas, and we'll have a meeting. And he was on time and he had his little notebook and he was so professional. And I was just like, so proud. But he wanted to depict a photo indicating the progression of MS. So he came up with the idea to involve, because he sees me switch from mobility aid to mobility aid. Some days I use nothing, some days it's a cane, other days rollator or a manual wheelchair, depending on where we're going, the length of how long we're going to be out walking and stuff. So he sees me kind of, compartmentalize what I need on the day that I need it. So he's like, well, what if we did a photo with, your walking cane and the roller and the wheelchair to kind of show like the progression? I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a great idea. So, and I have to show you the photo because it's
That's
so
genius.
powerful. It was really, really, really cool to see this. So here's the photo. And we
Yup.
had we had so much fun balancing the cane because he's like, I want the cane to be freestanding, and sort of shadowing the roller and the wheelchair. But he had to write an artist statement for it. And that's what I'd love to share with you because I think it's so profound. And I
Please.
helped a little bit, but I told him, I go, look, this is yours. This is your baby. So, I'll be there to help you, but you got to take the reins on this.
Let's go.
And this is what he said. He goes, progression of an invisible disability can be overwhelming. 2.3 million people live with multiple sclerosis worldwide. My stepmom is one of them. Disability progression is unpredictable, unexpected, and life-changing. I've watched my stepmom turn her diagnosis into hope and motivation for those in the MS community. Witnessing her intrepidity reassures me that I can overcome anything without fear. Society's stigma of disability often embodies sadness and pity. My goal here is to depict hope, perseverance, and strength in the face of invisible illness. For more information about multiple sclerosis, go to nationalmssociety.org. Age 12, grade 7, my kid.
That kid, he knows more multisyllabic words in the 7th grade than I did. And I know more multisyllabic words than most people right now. But
he had fun with the see, that's the brain fog. You just witnessed it. You just witnessed what happens with my brain. He had fun with the thesaurus. Why can't I say that word today? Good Lord, thesaurus.
But bottom line, it seems as if there's a natural curiosity with the kid. The kid is going to want to know. Step one. Yeah. Step two, you as the parent, as the adult, need to, one, not shelter the child. Two, be truthful with the child. And notice that I said something else other than not lie to the child. Yeah, because it is all about speaking what you want and having less of the stoppage of action. So we're, in one hand, you can not lie. In another hand, you can tell the truth. So, and they're both the same thing. So I digress, but you are being candid. You're being truthful. And the child is reflecting that back to you in ways that you could not have imagined, in ways that you are proud of seeing the child develop in ways that you could not have done. However, you taught them. However, you were part of that development. And that's magic.
And I think that, it could be very dangerous to walk into this saying, okay, you have a chronic illness and you have a kid, you need to educate them and be transparent with them, but be happy all the time. That is wrong. And you cannot walk through this saying, okay, everything's going to be funny. Mom walked into a wall again. My kids, my stepkids, they've heard me cry. They've seen me cry. They've heard me on awful nights where I'm in pain and I'm just in agony. And that's okay because they see me get up. They see me go through the crap, go through the pain, but then I brush it off and I keep going. I don't sit in it and sit in it and sit in it and sit in it. But when you're sitting in it, that's instilling worry. It's instilling fear. And the second they feel worried and fearful, they feel like they don't have control and they're no longer a part of the situation. And that's when they start to, potentially they could build this anxiety complex or whatever you want to say. That's a topic for like a child.
Yeah, that is another MS Views and News program.
Totally something separate and way more in depth for either of us, but it by allowing them to see the good parts, the bad parts, it's created this authenticity in our house that's there's no room for hidden stuff. There's no, maybe mom doesn't want to spend time with me. No, I know she doesn't want to spend time with me right now because she's exhausted and she needs to take a nap. It's not that I did something wrong. It's because she's in a flare tonight. You know what I mean? So there's no room for question in our house.
That's wonderful, and that's something that I'm unsure if that is a large message that's in the community like that, and people are trying to shield their children. But it's like, you need to be direct with your children so that they know how to deal with it in
Right.
them, in with you, with and within themselves, and so that they can model that toward others in the future.
Right. As long as it's being presented in a constructive and knowledgeable and relatively positive way. It's gonna be real.
Yeah,
Gotta
absolutely,
be real, but
absolutely.
faceting this like, oh, you have to be happy and positive all the time. It's setting them up for failure, because when they're older and they go through something, and God forbid, what if something happened with their health, knock on the Italian, I'm going to knock on wood somewhere. Um, they'll have the tools and the capability of being able to walk through that and navigate through that hardship or that challenge without going, oh, I've been sheltered, no, I don't know how to handle this and I don't know what to do.
And I'm an adult, and I'm 27 years old and don't know how to handle this. It's like, bro, come
Exactly.
on, fam. Like, your parents got to do better than that.
Yep.
Which is what this is all about. Thank you for your time, Britt. Where can people find you on the interwebs and to soak up more of this inspiration and this
Interwebs.
fabulousness and this frankness and being a person with other
Sure.
people?
Well, first, you can always go to my Instagram, a hot MS. I am now on TikTok, and I'm totally still figuring out how to use that thing because I'm an elder millennial.
That's how it
Uh,
be. I'm
and
older
also
than you. Let's go.
also my website, www.hotms.com. I am launching a new podcast that actually launches next week.
Okay.
So very exciting things in motion. But
Love it.
my whole goal of all of this is to be as transparent as possible about what it's like living with multiple sclerosis, and hope that some of the crazy stuff that comes out of my mouth helps someone in need of it.
Absolutely. And it has absolutely helped in the past 15, 20 minutes that you and I have been sitting here. And there's a lot that goes to understanding enough within themselves so that they can model that for their children,
Yeah.
regardless of how young they are, so that those children can grow into adults who have more of a bead on things and are able to handle themselves in those situations. Thank,
Absolutely.
thank you, Britt. Thank you for being in this space. And
Of
thank you for
course.
watching here on another MS Views Now. I'm going to see you another time. Good day.